Chosen one, listen with the inner ear of your spirit, because what you are about to hear is not a gentle whisper. It is a summons, a pull, a divine interruption breaking into the very place where you thought nothing was moving. Something has been shifting around your life with a quiet intensity, and even if you couldn't fully name it, you felt it like a pressure beneath the surface. Like the air right before a storm breaks and the atmosphere changes without warning. You didn't come to this message randomly. You were guided here, drawn here, positioned here. Because heaven has issued a decree over your life, and that decree is simple, powerful, and unstoppable. What was stolen from you is returning double. For too long, you've carried the weight of losses no one saw, disappointments you endured silently, betrayals you never deserved, and moments of collapse that felt like something precious was ripped out of your hands before you even had the chance to protect it. You survived seasons that tried to convince you that what you lost was final, that what was taken could never be repaired, that somehow destiny had slipped through your fingers. But look at you, still here, still breathing, still rising, still marked. That alone is proof that the story isn't over. In fact, it's only now reaching the part the enemy never wanted you to see. Because restoration isn't coming to you in fragments. It's coming in fullness. Not in pieces, in double portion. The very areas where you felt robbed, weakened, forgotten, or stripped. Those are the exact places where God is about to pour increase, abundance, and redemption. But before this unfolds, you must understand something deeper. Your loss was never a sign of abandonment. It was a setup for a return so divine, so deliberate, that when it arrives, you will realize heaven was keeping score the entire time. Right now, you are standing in the threshold of something holy, a turning, a reversal, a reclaiming, the kind of divine shift where God says, "That season tried to subtract from you, but I am multiplying what remains." This message is your confirmation that the cycle of loss ends here. The tide is turning. The scales are rebalancing. And what was stolen, time, peace, opportunities, relationships, confidence, identity, is coming back. Not the way it left, but transformed, elevated, and overflowing. Stay with me, chosen one. In the moments ahead, you will understand why your pain had purpose, why the delay served destiny, and why the return will be greater than anything you imagined. And as this truth settles into, you feel the weight of something higher drawing near, because this isn't merely encouragement or emotional uplift. This is a divine announcement stepping into the atmosphere of your life with purpose. What you're hearing now carries the tone of heaven. The authority of the one who has watched every moment of your journey, counted every tear you shed in silence, and measured every injustice that tried to shrink your spirit. This restoration, this return is not born from human intention. It comes from God Himself. For a long time you have walked through a season where it felt like heaven was quiet. You prayed, but the responses felt delayed. You hoped, but the movement seemed hidden. You trusted, yet the path ahead stayed dim. But silence from God never meant absence. Hiddenness never meant abandonment. It meant preparation. It meant orchestration. It meant that while you saw nothing shifting on the surface, God was arranging everything beneath it. You are entering a moment in your life where what was once unclear is about to become unmistakably divine. The restoration that is coming is marked with God's fingerprint, His timing, His justice, His intention. Nothing about this is random. Nothing about this is accidental. This is restoration with precision, redemption with purpose, reversal with strategy. Heaven has been watching the places where you were wronged. Heaven has been observing the moments where life seemed to take more than it gave. Heaven has been recording every loss that left you feeling empty-handed and wondering whether God's promises still included you. And now heaven answers not with explanations, but with fulfillment. There is a reason the message of restoration is being spoken to you now. Because the divine timeline over your life has begun to shift. What was once delayed is being released. What was once blocked is being opened. What was once stolen is being commanded to return. Not because of your strength, not because of your perfection, but because God has chosen this moment to bring balance back to your story. You must understand this. God does not restore casually. He does not replace what was taken with something equal. He restores in abundance. He restores in overflow. He restores with intention to make the enemy regret ever touching what belonged to you. That is why the promise is double. Because restoration in the kingdom is always multiplied. Let this settle deeply. God is not revisiting your past to point out where you failed. He is revisiting it to reclaim what was mishandled, misused, or stolen. You are stepping into a season where the divine hand reaches backward and forward at the same time, retrieving what was lost and releasing what is new. This message comes with the authority of the one who never forgets his promise, who never overlooks his chosen, who never abandons his own. The same God who saw your breaking is now preparing your rebuilding. The same God who witnessed your loss is now commanding your return. And the restoration he is bringing is not simply compensation, it is destiny alignment. Stay with this message. What comes next will reveal the heart of the prophecy and why the double portion is already moving toward your life. What is unfolding around you now is not just a season change. It is a prophetic reversal, a divine turnaround crafted with such precision that when it fully manifests, every loss you endured will suddenly make sense in a way that takes your breath. The prophecy over your life is rising like dawn after a long night. And this is the moment where heaven begins to reveal what has been hidden beneath years of frustration, delay, and spiritual warfare. The message is simple yet seismic. God is restoring you in a way that rewrites the narrative. Not merely returning what was stolen, but multiplying it, doubling it until the scales tip so overwhelmingly in your favor that even the deepest wounds begin to feel like doorways. This is the prophecy. The areas where you experience the greatest theft will become the areas of your greatest testimony. Where the enemy subtracted, God is adding. Where the enemy targeted, God is elevating. Where you were stripped, God is adorning you with increase. Your story is shifting from loss to legacy, from sorrow to strength, from emptiness to overflow. There is a divine law in motion now, one the enemy cannot escape and your circumstances cannot interrupt. The return has been activated. The spiritual accounts are being audited. Every injustice is being answered. Every loss is being remembered. Every tear is being weighed in golden scales. Heaven is not simply observing your situation. Heaven is intervening in it. Look at your life for a moment through the lens of this prophecy. Think of the relationships that were taken prematurely, the opportunities that dissolved without reason, the joy that was drained by betrayal, the confidence that was shaken by disappointment, the identity that was challenged by rejection. These were not random attacks. These were deliberate attempts to disrupt the trajectory of someone marked by God, someone whose destiny carries weight in the unseen realm. But here is the part the enemy never calculated. God was keeping record the entire time. Every blow you took was noted. Every season you endured was preserved. Every sacrifice you made was stored. And now heaven is releasing repayment, not as a gentle gift, but as a powerful declaration that you were never forgotten. The prophecy reveals that your return will not mirror your loss. It will surpass it. What was taken from your hands will come back to you through a different door, elevated in quality, multiplied in measure, and wrapped in divine timing. You will not simply receive what was stolen. You will receive what was promised and then some. And there is symbolism woven through this moment of your life. You may not have noticed it yet, but the signs have already begun to gather, the sudden urge to prepare, the quiet stirring in your spirit, the sense that something is shifting behind the scenes, the emotional sensitivity that feels like your spirit is being tuned to a higher frequency, the unexpected memories resurfacing not to wound you, but to signal what God is reclaiming. All of these are indicators that the prophecy is active. Imagine your life as a field that the enemy once swept through, trying to uproot the seeds of destiny God planted in you. But what the enemy failed to realize is that some seeds grow best after the ground has been broken. The destruction was temporary. The restoration will be permanent. The field is being reset, retilled, and blessed with rainfall from heaven. And what will grow next in your life will rise twice as tall as what fell. You are standing in the part of the story where the author picks up his pen again. The chapters of loss have closed. The page has turned. A new line is being written, one filled with recompense, renewal, and revival. The prophecy unveiled today is this: God is commanding a return to you of what was taken, a return of what was delayed, a return of what was denied, a return of what was stolen, not equal, not similar, but double. This is not imagination. This is intervention. And as this truth begins to awaken something inside you, we now move deeper into the heart of the revelation, into the spiritual meaning behind why such loss was allowed and why restoration comes with such power. There is a depth to this restoration that goes far beyond simply giving back what was taken. If this were only about replacing what you lost, the process would have been quick, simple, and immediate. But God allowed the delay, the stretching, the emptiness, and even the ache, because the restoration was designed to transform you, not just replenish you. What was stolen left a mark, yes, but it also carved space. It created room for something larger than what you once held. And that empty space has become the very place where divine overflow is about to land. To understand this moment fully, you must see your journey through spiritual eyes. Loss in the natural world looks like subtraction. But in the spiritual realm, subtraction often precedes multiplication. Brokenness precedes breakthrough. Emptiness precedes outpouring. The barren places in your life are not signs of abandonment. They are invitations for God to demonstrate His power in a way that cannot be credited to human hands. This is why your restoration is double. Not because God is trying to make up for what happened, but because the process you endured elevated your capacity. What was taken did not shrink you, it stretched you. What fell apart did not weaken you, it deepened you. What left your life did not diminish your destiny. It prepared the ground for a harvest impossible to contain. Every spiritual season you walked through had purpose. The silence taught you to listen differently. The waiting taught you to trust without evidence. The loss taught you to let God be your source. The betrayal taught you discernment. The rejection taught you identity. The setback taught you endurance. These were not random experiences, they were divine classrooms. God was shaping you silently, refining you internally, and strengthening what could not be strengthened in moments of comfort. Destiny does not develop in easy seasons. It is forged in tension, cultivated in pressure, and awakened in the places where you felt overlooked. Think of your spirit as a vessel. Before restoration can fill it, the vessel must be expanded. Many times God allows what you depended on to be removed so that your spiritual capacity can grow. The loss you endured widened your soul, giving you space to hold more wisdom, more clarity, more anointing, more purpose, and more blessing than before. Without the breaking, the expansion would not have been possible. This is why heaven kept a record of every moment you were diminished, because what looked like diminishing in the natural was enlarging you in the spirit. The pain that felt like it was emptying you was actually preparing you. The wound that felt like it would never close has become the very doorway through which increase will now flow. Spiritually, this restoration carries symbolism. The double return represents justice. The double return represents alignment. The double return represents maturity. The double return represents the fulfillment of divine timing. God is not returning things to you because he feels obligated. He is returning them because you have grown into someone who can steward what you once could not. The loss was painful, but it grew you into a version of yourself capable of carrying a weight of destiny that smaller seasons could not support. You see, destiny has a sound, an inner resonance that begins to hum when you are nearing fulfillment. And if you listen closely, you will notice that something inside you has been vibrating differently lately. A quiet certainty, a shift in your internal landscape, a readiness you cannot fully explain. That's because restoration always begins in the spirit before it appears in the natural. You feel it before you see it. You sense it before you touch it. The spiritual realm announces it long before the physical realm delivers it. And your spirit has already heard the announcement. It's why the memories of what was stolen suddenly feel lighter, as if the sting has begun to dissolve. It's why you felt a pull toward closure, even where closure never came. It's why the grief has loosened its grip in places you didn't expect. It's why you felt moments of unexpected hope rising like sparks in your chest. These are not random emotions. They are spiritual shifts, indicators that heaven has already released what is coming toward you. Your loss was not meaningless. It was a turning point, a sacred exchange, a realignment of timelines. The moment something left your life was the moment God began preparing what would return multiplied. The spiritual meaning of this restoration is simple yet profound. God wasn't just giving back what you lost, he was giving you back to yourself. The stronger you, the wiser you, the healed you, the anointed you, the expanded you. And now that this deeper work has been completed, the outer blessings can finally manifest without destroying the inner foundation. This is why the return is double. Because you are not who you were when the loss occurred. You have grown into someone capable of receiving more than what was taken. And now the signs of this restoration are beginning to reveal themselves. As restoration draws near, heaven begins to send signs, subtle at first, almost whisper-like, then increasingly vivid as the spiritual and natural realms start aligning. These signs aren't coincidences or emotional fluctuations. They are confirmations, signals that the double portion is already unfolding behind the scenes and pressing toward manifestation. If you listen closely, you may recognize these signs in your own life, even now. Sign 1, a sudden inner pull toward closure. You begin feeling an unexpected release from situations that once held you emotionally. People who hurt you no longer occupy mental space. Events that once felt sharp now feel distant, softened, almost irrelevant. This is because restoration requires emotional room, and heaven is gently loosening every tie that hinders the return. The pull toward closure is not your mind moving on. It is your spirit preparing for what is coming. Sign 2, old memories. Resurface with new clarity, not to reopen wounds, but to reveal understanding. You start replaying past events not with pain, but with revelation. You suddenly see where the enemy tried to sabotage you. You notice patterns you missed before. You feel a sense of divine orchestration behind things that once felt chaotic. These flashes of understanding are signs of spiritual alignment. God is helping you reinterpret your story because restoration demands new perception. Sign 3, a quiet increase in discernment. You find yourself sensing things before they happen. You feel shifts in people's intentions, doors that are about to open, and opportunities that are nearing. Your spiritual instincts become sharper. Conversations feel different. Decisions feel clearer. You find yourself pulled away from certain distractions and drawn toward things that nourish your spirit. Discernment intensifies right before a major move of God, because you must be able to recognize what He sends. Sign 4. A new level of restlessness, not frustration, not anxiety, restlessness. A stirring that feels like your spirit is stretching inside you. You sense that where you are is too small for who you are becoming. This restlessness is a holy signal. It means the old season is closing and the restoration season is activating. Your spirit knows before your mind does that increase is approaching. Sign 5. Unexpected moments of hope. Breaking through. You may have days where hope rises in you for no logical reason. Moments where you feel lighter, clearer, almost expectant. These are not emotional accidents. They are spiritual indicators. The joy that tries to rise inside you is the future calling out to you. Heaven is letting you taste the restoration before you see it. Sign 6. Things that once drained, you begin losing power. People, habits, places, and patterns that once drained your energy suddenly lose their grip. You feel less attached, less entangled, less affected. This is not detachment. This is spiritual elevation. God is raising your frequency so that restoration can enter without interference. All these signs point to one truth. The return has already begun. Heaven is aligning your emotions, your vision, your discernment, your inner strength. The signs don't show up when restoration is far. They appear when restoration is near. If you are experiencing even 2 or 3 of these signs, understand this deeply. The double portion is not coming someday. It is moving toward you now. And yet before the fullness of restoration arrives, there is a phase almost every chosen one encounters, the part of the journey that feels most intense, most stretched, and most misunderstood. These are not setbacks. They are the final tests before the release. Now we step into that hidden terrain. Before restoration arrives in fullness, there is often a final stretch, a quiet battlefield, where your spirit is tested, stretched, and refined. These challenges do not come to break you, but to prepare you. They are not punishments, but confirmations that you are on the brink of divine return. What you face in this phase is not random. It is strategic, purposeful, and time-sensitive. And if you recognize these hidden challenges for what they truly are, you will walk through them with far more clarity and strength. Challenge 1: the intensifying of opposition. Right before restoration breaks open, resistance often increases. You may find certain people becoming unexpectedly distant, cold, or even confrontational. Situations that once flowed easily may suddenly feel tense or restrictive. This is not because you are doing something wrong. It is because you are rising. And as your spiritual elevation increases, anything not aligned with your next season will naturally push against you. This opposition does not stop the restoration. It reveals that restoration is close. Challenge 2: the feeling of being stretched beyond yourself. You might sense that you are being pulled in multiple directions internally, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. It feels like you are expanding and being emptied at the same time. This stretching is part of the preparation. God is enlarging your capacity so you can hold the double portion without being overwhelmed by it. The pressure you feel is not an attack. It is expansion, disguised as discomfort. Challenge 3: the temporary feeling of isolation. As you enter the restoration zone, God often removes certain voices from your environment. Not because they are bad people, but because they cannot accompany you into what is coming. You may feel physically alone, socially disconnected, or spiritually quiet. This isolation is not abandonment. It is divine shielding. God is pulling you away from noise so you can hear His instruction with clarity. Challenge 4. The battle with doubt and weariness. The enemy often strikes hardest right before breakthrough. Thoughts of, maybe it won't happen, maybe I misheard God, or maybe this is just my hope talking may try to surface. Weariness may visit you even when nothing is physically wrong. Understand this. Clearly, doubt is a sign of proximity. The closer you get to manifestation, the more the enemy tries to disrupt your belief. But your faith is not fragile. It has been forged through every storm you survived. Challenge 5. The testing of patience and surrender restoration comes according to divine timing. And the final waiting period can feel like a spiritual furnace. You may wonder why God is taking so long when you feel so ready. But the timing is precise. The return is double because the preparation is deep. What looks like delay is actually protection. God aligning every detail so the restoration arrives without interference or premature collapse. These hidden challenges are not signs of failure. They are signs of transition. They are the final flames that refine gold before it shines. And even now, as you read these words, something inside you may already recognize that these challenges have been unfolding in your life, not as attacks, but as indicators that heaven is bringing something monumental your way. You are not being diminished. You are being positioned. You are not being denied. You are being aligned. And now that you understand the challenges, you are ready to receive the divine guidance prepared for your next step. Now that you understand the signs and recognize the hidden challenges, you are ready to receive the divine instructions for this season. Restoration does not arrive randomly. It meets the heart that is prepared, the spirit that is aligned, the hands that are open, and the life that is ready to carry more. These instructions are not burdens, they are pathways. Sacred routes carved out by God Himself to ensure that when the double portion arrives, you can hold it with strength, wisdom, and stability. Instruction 1. Release what God has already removed. Do not chase what heaven has closed. Do not cling to relationships, opportunities, or chapters that God has intentionally ended. Restoration flows toward open space, not cluttered memory. If something has been removed, honor the release. What is coming will not resemble what left. To receive double, you must let go of the fragments that try to keep you tied to an old season. Instruction 2. Protect your inner atmosphere. Your mind and spirit are sacred grounds right now. Be intentional about what you consume, who you listen to, and where you invest your attention.